Hey there, YouTubers. Right, so in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how you would update the BIOS to your Z690 Aorus Ultra. So this is going to cover how to actually download the BIOS file, a little PowerPoint presentation to show you some of the steps, and then a video of a very similar motherboard from Gigabyte, right? So Gigabyte makes Aorus that will actually show you what happens. So let's take a look at this. All right. Now the equipment, folks, you need is your motherboard. So in this case, it's this Aorus Z690 Ultra. You'll need a power supply, and that power supply must have, if you have either this big pile of cords or you just have certain ones connected to it. You need at a minimum the motherboard 24-pin connector and the power cord. All right, you won't have to plug in PCIe, SATA, any of those. All right, so later in the video we'll talk about this a little bit more. You also need a USB thumb drive. USB 2.0 seems to be the best choice, and that USB is going to need to be formatted to FAT32. All right, so I'm going to just kind of show this to you. Let's go ahead and download the actual file. All right. So if you've got this D5 version, search for Z690 Aorus Ultra, Google, whatever your search engine is, end up on this page, and then you're going to go to support. Now, there's a manual available. Let me show you that before we download the BIOS. This manual, which we want the English version, and it says unique features. We don't want this one. We want this one. If you open that up, folks, let me close the other one that I had. And you will slowly make your way down to this spot. All right. Now this tells you how to do this. I'm going to show it to you. This is honestly written like, in my opinion, somebody that doesn't speak English natively. All right, back to this. Downloads. You're going to click BIOS. And I say that about it. It just doesn't give you all the steps and doesn't necessarily make everything completely clear. We want the most up-to-date BIOS, okay? This one is cumulative, all right? Let me repeat this again because I'll undoubtedly get questions. You want the most up-to-date BIOS, all right? Looking in this column, 11.15, they did one 11.3. And to be honest with you, I always read these from the bottom up. So first launch, you see some of the gains that were improved, RAM, non-K performance, CPU VRM stuff, more RAM stuff, right? Then 13th Gen. And then you see this information here, all right? So nowhere in here did it say that you needed to update one of these earlier ones first, okay? That's something to check later on, but we're going to go ahead and click on this. That's going to download. You see over here, if you have Chrome, downloads here. If you have Edge, it'll show it up there. I'm now going to say show in folder, and then I'm going to extract all. All right, so there's my BIOS file. It's actually this one, all right? Here is our thumb drive, all right? Right click on your thumb drive, and you need one that's FAT32, all right? And that means how this is formatted. So if I right click again, well, let's talk about this first. Number one, do you have important files on here? If you do not, and it doesn't say FAT32, then you'll right click, click format, and then select FAT32. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to wipe out my drive. All right. Now, if yours says FAT32 like it does right there, then you'll be able to copy that file over, okay? Now, there's one other step before we copy this file. If you read those directions real fast as I showed them to you, we have to rename this file. So, easiest thing to do in my opinion is to come in here and just copy the text. Whoops. Maybe it's not so easy every time. Alright, so hopefully we'll get this the third try. There we go. Copy that. Come back over here. Right click, rename, Control V to paste. Delete that. Boom. Are you sure you want to change it? Yes. Then I'm going to right click, copy, and I can either right click, paste, or Control V, right? So we now have our file, okay, on a thumb drive. Now, eventually you're going to take this thumb drive and put it in the actual computer that you're going to use for this. Let's go back over here. So we talked about this stuff. We downloaded the file from Gigabyte's website, all right. We renamed the file. Now folks, you need to plug in a 24-pin power connector from the power supply. And on this motherboard, it goes in here, all right? It can go in only one way. You do not need anything else connected to this, okay? So in this picture, I have the CPU power connector. We don't need that connected. You don't need a power switch connected. You don't need a graphics card in here. You do not need a CPU in here. You do not need RAM, okay? And for this motherboard, like I said, no CPU power connector needed. So the only thing you need is the power supply, all right? Now later, when you actually put this in your computer, this is another story, but for this BIOS update, this is all that we need connected up to this point. Now folks, turn on your power supply, okay? So there's a switch here. You want the line clicked just like this. You don't want the circle. You want the line, okay? Then plug this into the wall, all right? Now insert your thumb drive, all right, USB 2.0 preferably, into the spot that says BIOS USB 3.2. Then from there, folks, assuming everything looks good, the power looks good, you're not going to lose power on the weather. I should say the weather looks good, not going to lose power. You have no notification from your power company that the power is going to be shut off. You can go ahead and click this button, all right? That is the BIOS button and shown right here next to the USB 2.0 headers. So this is going to flash a bunch of times for 6 to 9 minutes. If you're watching this in 2025, there may be a lot more BIOS updates in this. We'll take the max amount of time. All right. So that once that's done flashing after 6 to 9 minutes, this then, folks, that shuts off. There should be a light over here somewhere that's red. That'll shut off, and then your fan will shut off. All right. So from here, we're going to go watch a video on a very similar motherboard. I'm going to show you how B660, these steps done with the B660 motherboard for Gigabyte Gaming X. And you'll see this is in the same spot, but you will see basically those steps from the point that I touch this button to what happens all the way to the power supply shutting off. So our setup, 24-pin power connector plugged in there. Then we need to put our thumb drive in. Okay, it's got to go in the USB BIOS one. And so there's that. Now, power supply needs to be switched on like that is. Plugged in. And then let's go ahead and hit our little button. Now let me turn this off. So this should take 6 to 8 minutes if it actually works, okay? There's a light here. The light just came on. Power supply is on. And, oh, it's flashing, folks. Do you see that? So it is actually working. This is going to take 6 to 8 minutes, so once that is done, you may install your 13th gen CPU or 12th gen, maybe an i9-13900kf or 13th gen, but this is the process. So FAT32, rename the file, but yeah, it's looking good. I will pause this until this thing is complete. Not that you're going to see anything, but the light's off. It's probably going to turn completely off, right? Still flashing after about 4 minutes. I'd say we're about 6 minutes into it and still flashing. Voila, folks, it is done. That light is still on. PSU is still on. I would assume this is going to shut off at some point. We're going to leave it on for a few more minutes at least. Let's see if it does. Not only will it stop flashing, that light will turn off, the PSU will turn off, and you're good to go. Ready for a 13th gen without a CPU